Hi, I'm Helen, and in this video I really want to talk about sex and gender and what the difference is between them, because they are often used interchangeably but they have very different definitions, and I think it's really important to recognise the definitions of the two of them. In this video I'm going to talk about the difference between those two terms. I'm also going to talk about the acronyms AMAB and AFAB, what those mean exactly. I'm going to touch on the word cis and trans and also talk about what those means, then get into the phrase gender is a social construct and really break down what that means. I, for one, didn't know what it meant for quite a long time because I was like, gender is gender. But yeah, we'll get into that in the video. This is my channel Helen Explains, where I talk about sort of books and terminology and phrases relating to anti-racism, intersectional feminism, gender, sexuality and politics. I really like to break things down and talk about it things in a way that's easy to digest or kind of like easy to understand. I think it's so important when there's so much that gets thrown around on the internet, and really sometimes you just need to be like, hang on, what does that actually mean? So I hope these videos help, and if you'd like, please subscribe. So firstly, let's look at the definitions of sex and gender. So the UK government defines sex as the biological aspects of an individual as determined by their anatomy. So that can be the chromosomes that they're genetically made up of, as well as the hormones. Sex is generally defined as male or female, and it's something that is assigned to you at birth. So when you're born, so the doctor will look at it and be like, oh, it's a boy based on its anatomy, or oh, it's a girl. And therefore the baby gets written down as male or female. Now, we know that sex isn't actually a binary thing. So there's males, there's females, but there's also intersex people who have more than the two chromosomes XX or XY. And I think that's really important because so many people think of sex as a binary of like male and female, but it's not actually, it's literally not actually from a biological and medical perspective. So that's sex. Now, what is gender? Now, gender is kind of the more complicated one. It's something that's assigned to you socially and sort of culturally and how you're brought up in the world. So again, the UK government defines gender as a social construction relating to behaviours and attributes based on the labels of masculinity and femininity. They say that gender is something that's very personal to you. It's something that you feel inside, which may or may not align with the sex that you were assigned at birth. The government also defines gender as where an individual might see themselves, either as like a man, a woman, someone with no gender, someone as non-binary, or someone who's kind of just on the spectrum somewhere. You know, some people can be gender fluid. So one time they feel very masculine, so they're aligning with that kind of masculine gender, but then other times they can feel very feminine and align with the kind of feminine aspect of their gender. It's a complete spectrum, and it's literally not a binary. There is no kind of male and female as a gender binary. Now, where it gets tricky, and what I really wanted to talk about today, is the fact that like the terms sex and gender can be used interchangeably. However, they have very different definitions, as I've just kind of said. Sex is very much male and female, whereas gender is kind of a man or woman or a non-binary. Now, I really like to try and hone my language and make my language very particular, in the sense of like, if I'm talking about being a woman, that's me as a woman, and that can include cis women and trans women. Don't worry, we'll get into cis and trans later. And if I'm talking about men or as a man, that's very much a cis or trans man. It kind of encompasses them because that's that gender. The sex does not define who you are as a person and who you feel like you are inside. This is where I want to come on to the terms AMAB and AFAB. Now, you might have heard these kind of like terms thrown around, you might have seen them online, people use them quite commonly. AMAB means assigned male at birth, and AFAB means assigned female at birth. So I personally was assigned female at birth, and so I was given that sex of female. I've grown up and I very much align with my gender as being a woman. I'm not non-binary and I'm not a man, and I don't really feel fluid. So the acronyms AMAB and AFAB come really in handy when we're talking about cis and trans people. So cis is a shortened way of saying cisgender, and cisgender just means that your gender identity, so myself as a woman, aligns with the sex that I was assigned at birth. So as I said, I was assigned female at birth, and that aligns with myself now, so I am a cis woman. Now, someone who is not cisgender would be transgender. Now, this means simply that their gender identity of who they are does not relate to what they were assigned at birth. So someone can be assigned female at birth but identify as a man or identify as non-binary, and someone can be assigned male at birth and then identify as a woman or identify as non-binary, or also just identify as, you know, anything and they want to identify as, because gender is a spectrum. It can be fluid and you don't have to categorize yourself. I want to talk about the phrase gender is a social construct. When I first heard this kind of phrase, social construct, I was like, well, what does that mean? But it means that gender has been socially constructed with our society and how we bring people up in the world, how the media portrays gender. And it's really the way that people who are assigned male at birth are often put in blue clothing. Their walls are painted blue in their bedrooms. They're raised as boys, and boys traditionally will play with trucks. You know, they'll be like, boys don't cry. You know, this is the idea of a boy that we have defined in our society. And it's not necessarily what a boy should be. Similarly, people who are assigned female at birth, girls have to be pretty, girls have to be housewives. You know, it's the construction of what it means to be a girl in society. You know, wearing pink, wearing makeup, women have to be hairless, men can be hairy. Like, it's these kind of like made up rules that go like kind of really feed into capitalism and selling us stuff because we're women or because we're men and because that's what we should be like. It's a construct. It doesn't actually exist, and it doesn't define who you are as a person. If you're a girl and you want to wear makeup, but boys can wear makeup too. If you want to wear blue, as a girl you can wear blue. If you're a boy, you can wear pink. Pink doesn't exist just for girls only, and blue doesn't exist just for boys only. Like, it's these things that we know because that's the way we're raised in this Western society. But it's a cultural thing, it's a social thing, it's these unwritten rules that we're expected to follow. But it doesn't actually mean anything. You know, we can tear up the rule book. What it means to be masculine, what it means to be feminine. Everyone has a bit of both, in my opinion. And the problem we have with these kind of social constructs is it puts people into boxes. It makes people think that they have to be like this or they have to perform in this way. And I think for women, we're really fighting back on that. We're kind of saying, well, no, actually, I don't want to conform. I don't want to be who you say I have to be. And that's essentially what feminism is. You know, it's fighting for us to be seen as equals with our gender to men who have always been favoured in society under a kind of patriarchal society. I mean, I'm going into feminism, and I've got other videos about feminism that you can watch. But just going back to men, I think one of the worst characteristics of gender being a social construct is the fact that men can't show emotions. Like, boys don't cry, they have to man up. It's these gender constructs, essentially, which is having a huge detrimental effect on men. Like, the suicide rates for men are so much higher because men aren't talking about their emotions. There are some fantastic charities and initiative, for instance, like Andy's Man Club, that really kind of pushes men to talk and get in touch with their emotions. But they've never been taught this because they haven't been raised, you know, they've been raised as a traditional image of what a boy or what a man should be like. And to show emotions and to cry is very much like that kind of, that's what girls do. That's like, girls are weak, girls are so much softer. But boys should be allowed to be emotional, and they should be allowed to express their feelings, and they need to learn to express their feelings because they will grow up into be healthier men, more respectful men, and just better people. So in summary, sex is like the biological, the medical, the kind of the thing that's assigned to you when you're born. Gender, however, is a deeply personal thing. Gender is something that you feel in yourself, and you establish what your gender is, you know, and that doesn't have to fit in a box. That doesn't have to be a man, it doesn't have to be a woman, it can be non-binary, it can be gender fluid, it can be whatever you want it to be and however you personally feel. And you can present your gender identity to the world exactly how you want to present it. So personally, I use the terms male and female when I'm only talking about sex. I use the terms man and woman or non-binary person when I'm talking about someone's gender. I think that's so important. Thanks very much for watching. I really hope that has made things a bit clearer for you. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more of the same.